We'll see some students start popping in with us. Good afternoon. I see we're having our first participants join us. My name is Caitlin Losey. I am the volunteer WACAC, Wisconsin Association of College Admissions Counseling facilitator for this session, which is part of our virtual college exploration weeks for all Wisconsin students in conjunction with StriveScan. I'm going to go through a couple of housekeeping things. We may have some more attendees join us as we move along through our presentation today, but thank you so much for being here with us. A couple of things to note. As we go through the presentation today, you will notice that your camera and microphone are both off. That is for the bandwidth of all of us to keep the session moving along. If you have a question to ask of our fantastic panelists today, you can go ahead and use the Q&A function, and they will try to answer any questions that we can get through in this 45-minute time period. A little PSA, I would invite you to certainly go to wacac.com and look at any other sessions that you might be interested in joining. Please do join us for as many as you can. And then also note that the recording for any of the sessions, including this one that we are in right now, which is STEM in the Liberal Arts, will be available in a recorded format on wacac.com. With that, I'm going to stop my screen share and disappear for a while and turn it over to our fantastic panelists.
Well, thank you very much again for joining our program today. This is STEM in the Liberal Arts, and we're going to be taking turns, the panelists on the call today. We're going to be taking turns with a few different just things to consider as you're looking at small liberal arts colleges and considering STEM fields. That's number one. And then we're also going to take a moment to maybe share some of the individual highlights with each of our respective institutions. So we've got several different states represented within this group, a multitude of different sizes within that small to medium population. And so this is not supposed to be the end all be all, but we wanted to be able to start the conversation and talk a little bit about why you might consider looking at liberal arts colleges if you're also thinking about STEM fields. So joining me today are colleagues from St. Mary's in Minnesota, St. Norbert College in Wisconsin, as well as St. Olaf in Minnesota as well. My name is Rob Walton, Associate Director of Admission at Ohio Wesleyan University. And I'm going to let each of my co-panelists introduce themselves as they introduce their respective slides. So without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Allison to get us started.
Thanks, Rob. So I'm Allison Borowski. I am an admission counselor for the state of Wisconsin at St. Mary's. The first kind of slide we're going to do to kind of kick it off is, what is liberal arts? So really the big thing to note about liberal arts is it's interdisciplinary. Pretty much what that means is you get a wide variety of different knowledge and skills in different areas that aren't necessarily what your exact discipline or major is. So if you are a STEM major, then you are also going to have art, philosophy, literature, history classes to kind of make you a well-rounded student. And like I said, students learn of topics outside of their discipline. So again, you're just getting that wide variety, broad spectrum of classes and areas of study that you can kind of learn about. All right. Hello, everybody. My name is Mary Beth Franken. I am the Associate Director of Admission at St. Norbert College, which is in De Pere, Wisconsin, just outside of Green Bay. One really important debate that I think happens often, especially as students are looking at colleges, is should I do STEM or should I do liberal arts? But the reality is that liberal arts colleges can and do have really robust STEM programs and STEM offerings. It doesn't have to be a one or the other debate. And I think there's a lot of really great advantages to students that are interested in STEM, also exploring the possibility of doing that at a liberal arts college. So as we all know, technology is very rapidly advancing and has been for a long time. And with a background in the liberal arts, it essentially teaches you the 3 C's that are important to being able to adapt to really quickly advancing technology: communication, collaboration, and critical thinking. So the liberal arts, because it is so well-rounded, teaches what we call soft skills. And soft skills are things that employers really look for, things like collaboration, communication, like I said, critical thinking skills, being able to write well, being able to kind of analyze. So having that really well-rounded education and then applying it to a career in the STEM field makes you really marketable to employers because you have some of those additional skills as opposed to just the specific on-the-job training for a STEM field. So essentially you can kind of get the best of both worlds. And I think one really important thing to think about, especially as it relates to STEM and the liberal arts, is that the liberal arts offers you a way to think about kind of the broader implications of STEM fields. So for example, you know, what's the limit of genetic engineering? What are implications of kind of utilizing technology versus human interaction for manufacturing? So thinking about the broader historical, political, social implications behind what you're doing, I think is a really important distinction to be able to make. And I think I'll be interested to hear a little bit more specifically about what the 4 of us as liberal arts colleges are doing as it relates to STEM. So now I will turn it over to Dave to talk a little bit more about research opportunities.
Hey, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Dave Wagner, Director of Admissions at St. Olaf College in Northfield, Minnesota. And I'll talk more specifically about St. Olaf later, but I am excited to talk about research opportunities with all of you this afternoon, as I think that is a huge part of what can really bring a STEM-focused education to life. I think often when students think about big research universities, they focus on the research that is happening at those universities. And this is not to say that there's not great research happening at the University of Minnesota or at Madison, but I think it's really important to think about who is actually able to do the research, who is in the lab, and how is research supported in those different institutions. I think all 4 of us would say that the focus of our education and a liberal arts education is specifically on undergraduate students. So as undergraduate students, you have tons of opportunity to actually engage in meaningful research opportunities. I think one of the things that is also really important and interesting to think about is that, as some of my colleagues have alluded to, the liberal arts is all about making connections. It's about thinking about things from an interdisciplinary perspective, incorporating a diversity of thought, perspectives, and ideas. So when you're doing research in a liberal arts setting, you're doing research in a particular field, but I think it's often thinking about how that research can be impactful outside of the field. So for example, at St. Olaf, when they designed Regents Hall of Math and Science, which is our new-ish science and math building, they were very intentional about putting faculty offices sort of interspersed throughout the building, regardless of discipline. So this was to really encourage collaboration between professors. So for example, if a biologist is next to a statistician, it would hopefully give them opportunity for conversation about ways to explore interdisciplinary research related to biostats. So I think that's a huge foundation of what research in a liberal arts setting is all about. I also think one of the hallmarks of a liberal arts education is small class sizes and the opportunity to really actively engage with your professors. And that, I think, is something that is hugely, hugely important. So when you are applying to graduate school, when you're applying for jobs, you will have professors who have interacted with you in all kinds of different settings. They will know who you are. They'll be invested in you as a learner and also you as a person, which I think is great. A lot of faculty also have really important connections outside of the institutions in which they are teaching. So for example, Dave Van Wylen was a biologist who was teaching at St. Olaf, but he was able to bring students down to Emory University outside of Atlanta to do research with cardiac surgeons, which was hugely interesting. We also have some really cool programs in which students are doing research at Mayo, the Mayo Clinic, which is about 45 minutes from St. Olaf. St. Olaf also has a huge study abroad program, and many of those programs are also STEM focused. So for example, you could go and spend a month in the Galapagos actually doing environmental research off campus and using the data that you collect to come back and do important work when you return to St. Olaf. Research is something, regardless of where you go, you're going to want to do it. I think it's an example of you showing initiative. I think it's an example of you working through complex data sets, thinking about things strategically. And I think it's a hugely advantageous thing to be able to talk about when you are thinking about applying for graduate schools, internships, or jobs after you graduate. So I think research is hugely important. I think it's kind of a misnomer that research opportunities don't exist in small liberal arts colleges. And I think it's something that all four of us would say is hugely important to the education in the STEM fields at our respective institutions. And with that, I will turn it over to Rob.
Great, thanks, Dave. So again, you know, we've talked a little bit about the different touch points of why it's important to consider liberal arts colleges when you're thinking about STEM. I'm gonna kind of capstone maybe what some of those maybe specific benefits are, and then each of us are going to get a chance to talk about our respective institutions and maybe some highlights individually to each of our independent institutions. But you know, you kind of heard this a little bit in Dave's message too. I think, you know, it's one thing to be able to say, hey, we've got these great opportunities, or we've got these bells and whistles, or check out this shiny laboratory. But I think one of the things to consider is that the access to that is important. And so thinking about, you know, am I going to be able to get into some of those opportunities before I'm in my, you know, senior year capstone, or before I'm in graduate school? So I think all of us would remind you that getting access into these amazing opportunities is, I think, a huge benefit of a liberal arts setting. That you're going to get those early on in your undergrad experience, whether that's something that is a resume builder, or whether it is something that sets you up well for some of your, you know, 300, 400 level classes. Maybe for many of you, you might be thinking about STEM, but you might be considering a whole host of different types of opportunities within a very, you know, broad umbrella of different types of topics. So, you know, it's an opportunity to get some of those engaging experiences before you have to make a real decision about what you're doing in your career. I think another point to think about too, we heard a little bit already about the liberal arts experience, and those are skills that you're gonna hone, that employers really want to hire. So at the same time, you're gonna get that experience to be a great chemist, or a botanist, or a zoologist, or a neurosurgeon, but also having those other skills that are going to help you relate to an end user, relate to a patient, relate to people on a sales team, relate to the people you're marketing towards. Those are really the skills that employers want to hire. And I think those are the things that will help you stand out within the pool of applicants when you're getting ready to find that first job beyond college. So, you know, as you're thinking about, well, what are these examples, right? We've heard these opportunities examples. things to look for as we're each going to take a moment to talk about our individual institutions opportunities. You're going to hear things, co-op opportunities, right? Maybe you're thinking about engineering and you're going to have an opportunity to do some external off-campus, hands-on experience in that could be called a co-op. Study abroad, I would imagine that some of you might be considering going outside of the United States for some of your external learning. Internships, right? Some of those might be paid or they might be unpaid but for credit. Some of those might be domestic or international, right? So some of these examples can be merged, right? Study abroad could also be an opportunity for an internship. Or maybe shadowing experiences, right? So, you're going with a professor to maybe work on some research that they're already conducting, right? Maybe that would be an example of a shadowing experience. So listen for those types of opportunities and benefits and examples of real world experiences as we go through the next few sets of slides. Since I'm already here talking with you, I'll go ahead and get us started. At Ohio Wesleyan University, we do have about 75 different majors offered, many in the STEM field. When I say top STEM majors, you see that first bullet point, top STEM majors at OWU. While all of our STEM majors, all of our STEM fields are fantastic programs, I really wanted to highlight ones where we have maybe the most amount of students enrolled. So when I say top, I just mean in terms of numbers of students who are pursuing those. So number one, far and away, is zoology. Our campus is just outside Columbus, Ohio, right near the Columbus Zoo, Jack Hanna, all of that. So we have a really strong connection there. And of course, some of those students are going on to do more than be working with, let's say, the animals themselves. Some of them are combining those majors with marketing experience or communication experience because they have some other ways that they want to work within that field. Neuroscience is a popular major. I find that if you see the last one there, pre-professional programs like pre-med, pre-dent, some of those, a lot of those students might be considering neuroscience as their undergraduate major. Chemistry, I think, is a very versatile STEM field to have. We have a vast number of students. My next point, we'll talk about some of those experiences. Human health kinetics, if you are thinking about going on to do OT, PT, athletic training, things like that, you might be interested in HHK. And microbiology. I think now more than ever, people are interested in pursuing fields where they can learn a little bit more about health and literally getting it down to the cellular level. So I would be remiss if I didn't discuss our signature program called the OWU Connection. It is much easier to say OWU than it is OWU. The more you say it, the easier it is. Our signature experience, the OWU Connection, is a combination of travel learning, research, internships, and really an opportunity for them to be less segmented or fragmented across the campus, that all of these are intertwined into your 4-year experience at OWU. So if that means that your travel learning would be maybe you're going with your class to study this, we had some students who wanted to study this topography that was between England and Wales. There's this very unique 177-mile path with some really rich nutrients and elements that aren't really found other places. And so a class that was studying some of these concepts, they were able to spend a few weeks, travel abroad as a class, and go experience that with their professors. Research opportunities, I think being near a major metropolitan area, Columbus, Ohio is the largest city in the state of Ohio. It's the 13th largest metropolitan area in the country. And so we're in north suburban Delaware, Ohio, which means that we have, big city opportunities all around us. So whether that's going to be with a major health outfit, medical center, Cardinal Health, maybe you're thinking of going that kind of a route. If you're considering working at some of the major labs that are in town, some of the pharmaceutical companies that have bases in Columbus, there's lots of opportunities for both research and internships, and sometimes those can be intertwined as both. So they'll take you abroad. The last point I'll leave, the picture here that you're looking at is a young lady by the name of Erin Cannon. She just graduated last year. During her time at OWU, she did internships and research in Australia. Now she's a corporate control accountant at Honda of America. So if you visit our campus, if you get the full information session, you'll get more examples of things like that. But I really want to highlight Erin as somebody who went through these specific STEM fields. She actually ended up not working directly in the science part, but she uses the math portion of that every day. And it was those experiences through the OWU connection. I'm going to turn it over now to hear a little bit more about St. Olaf. Back to Dave.
Hey everyone, I'm back. I think it's really exciting to think about STEM fields at St. Olaf because nearly 40% of all of the students at St. Olaf are majoring in one of the natural sciences or mathematics. So there is huge support for science, math, computer science at the college. And I think if you're thinking really seriously about graduate school or medical school, I think it's really important to think about outcomes and what students are doing after they graduate. So if you are interested in math, St. Olaf sends more students on to earn PhDs or doctoral degrees in mathematics of any liberal arts college in the United States. So it's a big, robust program, and our students are going on to do some really interesting things. You can also see on the slide that we're in the top 10 liberal arts colleges for the number of students going on to earn doctoral degrees in all natural science and math related fields. So I think that's a real testament to the caliber of the education that you can get in a liberal arts setting. And I think the kinds of experiences that students have at the undergraduate level really set them up for success, for jobs, and applying to graduate schools. As I was the one who talked a little bit about research opportunities earlier, I wanted to just include a little bit of information about that in my slide. So every summer at St. Olaf, 100 to 125 students are fully funded through a Howard Hughes grant and a National Science Foundation grant to do both collaborative and independent research in the summer. And then throughout the course of our school year, about 200 students are doing independent or guided research with faculty members. So we have a Center for Undergraduate Research and Inquiry that coordinates all research on campus. And the focus of that is really thinking about things from an interdisciplinary perspective, which I think is really, really exciting. One of the other exciting new announcements that I did not add to my slide is that we recently just added an engineering concentration. So for years, we have been sending students on to graduate programs in engineering, but we did not have an engineering specific program. We have added that program now, and it's really, really an exciting addition to the physics major at St. Olaf. But students can do those courses, graduate from St. Olaf in 4 years, and then apply directly for graduate level programs in engineering, mostly at larger schools. So with that, I will turn it over. I can't remember who I turn it over to next, either Allie or Mary Beth.
It's me. So in the kind of lower right-hand corner on my slide, you'll see a picture of the Gale Mulva Science Center, which was newly renovated about 5 years ago. We put $40 million worth of renovations and additions into that building. It was very much in need of a facelift, and we not only renovated the existing building, but really added on to it as well. And we were able to make it a space that was very conducive to what the faculty were looking for. They played a really strong hand in the design of that building. Specifically, and this is very, very closely related to the liberal arts, one thing that the faculty really wanted out of the Gale Mulva Science Center was small spaces where both students could work collaboratively and where the faculty themselves would be able to interact on a one-to-one or small group basis with their students outside of the lab facilities, outside of their offices, because that mentorship piece with faculty is really important, I think, particularly in STEM fields. We also added research labs, which we didn't have before. So now students who are engaged in either collaborative research with faculty or independent research have spaces that are just dedicated to that, where they can get in at any time that works for their schedule, They can store their samples, they can store equipment that they're using, and have that space that's theirs for the duration of their project. And it's really exciting if you go into some of the research labs in GMS because it's chaotic, but you can really tell that students are in there, that they're working on their projects, and that they are really learning and utilizing that space really well. One other thing that was able to happen when we renovated the science facility is that we were able to dedicate a wing of the building to the Medical College of Wisconsin. Some of you may know that the Medical College of Wisconsin's flagship campus is down in Milwaukee, which is about 2 hours away from Green Bay. And around the same time that we were renovating our facility, the Medical College decided that they wanted to expand their reach northward. So it created a really great partnership between St. Norbert College and the Medical College of Wisconsin. So for our undergraduate students that are interested in the medical field, it's really great for them to be able to see white-coated medical students. I saw a couple students in scrubs today walking around on campus, and to really understand what it takes to get to medical school and what being a medical student is like. A lot of our faculty also teach both in our undergraduate biology program and in the Medical College of Wisconsin. And I believe we are one of the smallest, if not the smallest, liberal arts colleges in the country to have a medical school right on site. Another really exciting thing that happened about a year ago is that we were awarded almost $1 million grant from the National Science Foundation. And what that did is create 2 cohorts of STEM scholars. So our first cohort just started this year. And it's a really exciting kind of collaboration and offers some really great opportunities for students who are interested in STEM fields. The grant goes towards a lot of things, but in particular interest to students is that it goes to meet unmet financial need. So it can cover up to $10,000 in additional unmet financial need in addition to other scholarships that we offer. So it helps make St. Norbert a lot more affordable. And also there's a lot of great opportunities associated with the grant for students that are in the scholarship cohort. There's a living learning community, so all the students live together and they're able to really collaborate and discuss and really get to know each other and explore some of those STEM fields. They also have an early arrival program, so they move in about 2 weeks early, and during that time they obviously get acclimated to life on campus, but there's also opportunities to do research and to kind of start that process. And speaking of research, those students also have a guaranteed research opportunity and/or a guaranteed internship in the STEM field. So it's really great preparation for students, especially for students that are considering going into graduate school, to have those guaranteed opportunities as early as their freshman year. And there are some specific requirements for that grant. So if you're interested in learning more, we'll share our contact information at the end of the presentation. So please don't hesitate to reach out. We also have some great opportunities for students who are interested in some really competitive fields and interested in earning some advanced degrees. So we, continuing our collaboration with the Medical College of Wisconsin, have a 3+3 partnership for students who are interested in earning a Doctor of Pharmacy degree. So they're here at St. Norbert for 3 years to kind of fast track their undergraduate degree. And then what would be their senior year here at St. Norbert, they actually start their pharmacy degree, their Doctor of Pharmacy degree at the Medical College of Wisconsin's Milwaukee campus. So it shaves off a full year of schooling and really fast tracks the degree to, the path to a Doctor of Pharmacy degree. And while they're here at St. Norbert working on their undergraduate degree, there's a lot of opportunities to collaborate with the medical college. We've had students that have spent the summer down in Milwaukee engaged in research and doing some shadow opportunities with pharmacists. So that's a really great thing for students that are interested in the pharmacy field. And then we also have a partnership with Concordia University, Wisconsin, which is in Mequon, just outside of Milwaukee. And it's a kind of preferred admission program for students that are interested in physician's assistant, occupational therapy, or physical therapy. So students apply early decision, and we have 3 preferred admission spots in each of those 3 programs. So we have a lot of students that go on for advanced degrees, particularly in healthcare, and St. Norbert is a great place to be really well prepared and to have that mentorship from faculty in order to really set yourself up to be a great candidate once the time comes to apply for some of these really competitive fields. So with that, I will turn it over to Allie.
Yeah, so kind of like Mary Beth, I'm going to talk about our highlight program at St. Mary's, which is our new as of 2 years ago, 3+2 physician assistant program. Kind of like the St. Norbert one, it's a fast track program. So 3 years of undergrad is done at our campus in Winona, where you get your undergraduate degree, where you take a variety of courses that also coincide with how you will deal with your last 2 years at Mayo Clinic School of Health Science. So those 2 years are done in Rochester, which is about 45 minutes up the road from Winona. So then after 5 years, you'll have 2 degrees. So you'll have 1 degree, your Bachelor of Arts in Biology Health Science from St. Mary's. And then after that 5th year, you'll have a Master of Health Sciences in PA Studies degree from the Mayo Clinic School of Health Science. So yes, it's a fast track program, and it's also very, very highly selective. We only have 18 seats available every year. We have to vet a lot of the applications. There is a bunch of different requirements, which is why I added that hyperlink at the bottom. So if you just visit our website, you'll see kind of all of the admission requirements that is from that program. One big thing I will put on everyone's radar is our application deadline being December 1st for that program. Like I said, it all happens very quickly, but at the end of 5 years, you get to have that PA degree. If that's something that you're really, really interested in and wanting to do in a faster fashion. I believe our next slide is talking about our contact information, but I'm assuming that this would be the perfect time that if anyone ever has any questions, you can feel free to ask them in the Q&A box.
Okay, well, I don't see any more questions coming through. I hope that means that this was incredibly informative and helpful, and hopefully you had at least a couple takeaways from today's session. As you can see, Allie, Maribeth, David, and I can be reached. I would say maybe that's another point that's not specific to STEM and the liberal arts, but just to make sure that as you're beginning this process and probably in a new and different way, that you take advantage of not just opportunities like this, but visiting each of the institution's websites for more content, more information, probably some more videos along the way, and reach out to folks directly if you have questions. While you've heard kind of similar themes across different institutions, there are going to be some nuances, and so you want to make sure that if you've highlighted some institutions that you are planning to apply and move forward with, that you want to make sure that you have specific information from each respective institution. All right, seeing none, I'm going to go ahead and kick it back to Caitlin, who's got a few housekeeping pieces of information before we log off the session.
Fantastic. Thank you. And thank you again to our participants for joining us for STEM and the liberal arts. You should be looking at my screen with just a couple of housekeeping things. So when you close this window, you are going to be taken to a short 4-question survey. Please do fill that survey out. It helps us adjust this programming and make it even better for the future. Certainly, like I said earlier, sign up for some more sessions. We've got the end of this week as well as an entire week next week planned of more fantastic sessions for you to learn a little bit more about the college search process and different institutions. And then the recording for this session will be available online, so you can both sign up for more sessions at wacac.com and also look for the recording of this session and others that you might not have been able to attend. I'm going to take one more look in the Q&A. Yesterday we had some sneaky questions come in at the last second. I'm not seeing any. So I think with that, I'm going to thank our panelists and we'll let everyone move on to what comes next in their afternoon. Thank you.